Will, nice to meet you. I'm Kevin Michaluk. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of Mobile Nations.
Well, nice to meet you, Kevin. I'm Will Arnett, former Canadian Prime Minister. I think. I don't remember how it went.
So Will, we're obviously both here because we are super passionate about fixing all of the communication screw-ups in the world right now.
Yeah.
So little background on me, because we know you.
Well, okay.
Got into this tech space and communication space about a decade ago with a little company you may have heard of called BlackBerry.
Sure.
And back then started a website called crackberry.com because we were all, addicted to our Blackberries.
They're like an antique company, right?
They're an antique, but they're coming back. they're coming back to it. What's interesting is, that was the front end of who ruined email from my perspective.
Interesting.
And I've been following it very closely since and witnessing the destruction of email.
And you felt like it was that BlackBerry kind of opened the floodgates, if you will? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, so think of it this way. Before smartphones and BlackBerry, you used to do email on your computer.
Yeah.
People would expect a reply the next day, and that was totally acceptable. And then all of a sudden, smartphones come out. They make the email instant, so the second you send it, the receiver gets it, and they basically turned email into chat. And all of a sudden, people are judging if they're good at their job by how quick they can reply to emails. And that wasn't really what it was designed to do, right? It used to be send an email, get a reply on your own time, and all of a sudden it turned into chat.
Right. Before it was just kind of more a correspondence, a way to communicate, but not necessarily a way to maintain a fluid conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now you have all these emails coming that are, 300 emails on a thread, and nobody's thinking about what they're writing. They're just
The thread
replying.
kills me. I gotta say, there are times when I'm like, you get lost when you want to go back, and you're like, which thread? You have to open up all the different threads. That kills you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of it seems counterintuitive, right? To you're not really communicating anymore.
People started emailing wrong, I think, and now, for years it's never been solved. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this topic is having witnessed the de-evolution, the step backwards we've all made, and then throwing in everything else in the world today. We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got Snapchat. These phones never stop beeping, and we're starting to go mad. We're starting to go crazy. So, being part of the solution is really exciting to me.
I'm excited at the idea that there is potentially a solution because I'm frustrated too, probably in a different way. Obviously, you come at it from a much more scientific angle in a way because that's what you did, right? And so you were able to kind of see firsthand from inside how frustrating it was. For me, as just a simple consumer or a guy who's kind of, in essence, running a small business, I'm frustrated because I feel like I'm never on top of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It never stops coming.
It never stops coming, and then every day, I'm constantly. I feel like I'm always doing a kind of a running tally of, and it's not a real list. It's just in my head of where am I vis-a-vis all my emails.
Right.
Who do I owe? What do I?
Are you a person who tries to hit this inbox zero, they call it, clean out the inbox and start each day fresh, or is that just impossible?
No, I'm not inbox zero, but I don't like seeing an icon, a notification saying, nothing makes me crazier than if I see somebody else's phone and it says like 15,300 emails. I'm like, What are you doing? That's madness. You need to speak to somebody. Yeah. I met a guy recently who's like inbox zero. I mean, he keeps it empty. He responds to everything immediately, and then he deletes everything. So he's got nothing. in his inbox at all, which is just the other extreme, I guess.
So do you receive more in a day than you send, or do you send more in a day than you receive?
I definitely receive more in a day than I send. I always, like, in my mind, the sort of the monologue that's running is as soon as I wake up, and the moment I turn to my phone, which is sometimes first thing or sometimes when I'm getting a cup of coffee. The moment I do that, I'm like, all right, game on. Like the game is starting the second I pick up, and now I'm back in the system, and I'm trying to play catch up.
Right.
That's all I'm doing.
One of the things I always think about is, I don't know the number. There's probably billions or hundreds of millions of emails sent every day.
I don't know numbers at all.
Yeah, that's
No.
I don't know them either.
Yeah.
But you think about like these long threads of emails that happen, and the amount of wasted energy and time, and the additional beep that goes off by somebody who just replies thanks to that last email for no real reason. It's like it didn't require anything. And I think that's one of the things I love about Timyo right now is with clear expectations from the sender, you can kind of stop the madness by reducing, all of this unnecessary email that just piles up. Because, we went from having no communication tools. We used to be like, horse and buggy, and then to phone calls, and now it's just it never stops, right? So anything that can bring people back to thinking before they hit the send button, and maybe sometimes not hitting the send button because you don't need to, is where we need to go.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating. You're right. Than you got a million things going on, and you're fielding phone calls and emails and stuff, and you finally like solve something on an email exchange with somebody, and then you're on to the next thing, and you hear ding, and you just go back and you're like, oh, hang on, thanks, okay, great.
When does it stop? When does it stop?
Well, now I've just wasted. I'll never get those 6 seconds. Now it's 6 seconds, but the cumulative effect is
huge.
It's huge, yeah. And for me, it's always about I have the guys I work with in our little office, our little company, and my assistant. He's also playing catch. He still can't keep up with all the stuff that's going on, and he can't rank it. We're always playing this game of like trying to rank where we, the importance of emails.
Right.
And that's just like this kind of.
Yours are always at the top, I would assume.
yeah. Well, no, it's funny. I think that you would think that they would be at the top, and he will answer mine quicker for sure. But at the same time, he's also trying to do stuff to help me. So if he's answering me on something that's not necessarily totally pressing, then he's taking time away from what he's supposed to be doing.
That's a really good point. For me, I have a team of about 80 people spread through the world, and I'm the guy in that team who, when I send an email, people will typically drop what they're doing and reply. And a lot of times I don't want that to be the case. It might be Sunday afternoon when I have an idea and I need to send that message now.
Yeah.
But I don't want the recipient to drop what they're doing on their Sunday afternoon and get back to me. It's like, guys, this can come later next week.
Right.
No problem. I need to send it now.
And as a business owner or a guy's running a business, you're thinking, if you're answering my email that's not necessarily totally crucial at this moment, you're taking time away from doing the thing that I hired you to do, which is your job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Communication's expensive, right? And rarely is it that you're getting paid to communicate.
No.
It's you're totally right.
Yes, I feel like we're in a very strange time. We're at this kind of watershed moment where we're just, we're inundated with emails, we're inundated with information. How do we make sense of it all? Like, there's got to be a more efficient way, which is what brought me here, which is like, how do I figure out to manage all of these things?
So looking at Timyo, when you saw it, what were the aspects that got you kind of excited? Like, this is the step in the direction I need.
It's funny. I met these guys through a mutual friend. It was when it was explained to me, like, hey, these guys are working on this technology that can simplify your life. I'm like, go on.
Right, right.
And it really came from a very organic place in that way. And I met with them, and they started walking me through basically what the problem. They were vocalizing something that I had been kind of reciting to myself was, you don't know how to manage all these things. You don't know how to manage the time. The one aspect of email that you don't have control over, or that's a vital piece of information that is not being used to its fullest potential, is time.
Right.
And time, it's funny, I'm a dad, I got 2 young sons, I'm trying to do a million things, I'm an actor, producing stuff, I'm a writer. I have said a million times, people say, well, for me, the most crucial thing, the most valuable commodity in my life is time. Because everything I do is, to me, the most valuable time is spending with my kids. Everything else takes me away from that. How can I conserve my time? How can I be more efficient with my time?
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to pack more out, create more hours in the day.
Yeah.
So we got to get more out of what we have.
Exactly. And so these guys, they started walking me through, the guys at Timyo, that this is something that we can help you with. This technology can help you with that.
Got it.
And I just started listening, and I really saw the benefits of that. So I started using the technology myself, and I started using Timyo for all my email, and it was so simple. Once I said to people, the guys in my office, my assistant, hey, we got to call that guy back about the script or whatever. You don't need to let me know until Thursday. I can set that parameter on my email that I send to him, and he gets it. And now it's being, ranked by the importance with regards to time.
I love it. No, I think same situation where we're sending so many emails all the time, and I just don't need to get them all back, right? It's one of those things like when you do try to catch up on your inbox, because sometimes it's impossible to do it daily for me, right? I can't clean out my inbox.
No way.
And I quit trying. I don't want to. But every now and then I'll take a couple hours when it's my time. And maybe it is a Sunday evening and I'm just like, there's nothing to do, it's quiet, I'll catch up. So now I start sending email. Well, what happens if you don't use Timyo is now you've just created 50 replies, 100 replies.
Yeah.
Now you're back living in this email communication hell. So even when you're doing catch up, you can space it out, and your next week becomes much easier. You're on top of everything.
Well, yeah,
because the
alternative, right, Kevin, is you ignore it, right, for another day, and now it's another day that you're not doing those things. Whereas, if you can send them out with the parameter of I don't need to hear back from you the moment you get this. Yeah. I can hear back for Tuesday. I can hear back Wednesday. I can hear back Thursday. Now you've started, spreading that out. Yeah. And it becomes reciprocal, right? Because you're helping them and yourself at the same time. I noticed the same thing. I remember sitting outside and like on a Sunday night, and my friends were like, "Hey, do you want to watch this? I forget some show." And I said, "You know what? Sunday night, I'm just gonna. I got to catch up on my emails." It was kind of a bummer, first of all, that I'm out there on a nice night and I was gonna hang out with my friends, and I had to spend that time doing that. That was a Sunday night. Monday morning, of course, all those chickens came home to roost, and I got in and I woke up and I had 50 emails. I was like, great.
Yeah,
I did this to myself, and I should have not done it.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I've liked about Timyo, and when I started to use it, was it actually made me more mindful of all my communications. Because I think we've all become really selfish.
Yeah.
Technology has given this ability to communicate anywhere, time-wise, any spot on Earth, we can get that message to another person. Because we can do that, we just do it when it's convenient for us without even thinking about the person, the recipient on the other end.
Yeah.
And I think with Timyo now, I've started to apply the philosophy almost to all my forms of communication. Because as the sender, you have the power to fix the problem.
Yeah.
If you just take that extra second and say, do I need to interrupt this person right now or not? And that could be email. That could even apply to when I pick up the phone. I'm just a little more conscious now. So I like the philosophy overall.
It's funny. I like to I'll walk into a restaurant and I'll say, hey, can I get a burger and fries? And I'll take that on Thursday. And then I walk out. No, but it is powerful. I mean, imagine when I started thinking about how absurd it was that that time wasn't built in as a component to email. It started making me think about, well, imagine if we didn't do it in everyday life with everything. It would be insane, I mean, first of all, how do you think D-Day would have gone if time wasn't a component? Hey guys, just go ahead and take Normandy Beach. When? I don't know, whenever. Whenever you guys see fit. Okay, thanks, boss, and just everything in every aspect of your life. The first thing, I was talking to the guys from Timyo in an actual conversation today, and they were talking about something that they had to do, and they were asking each other, well, we got this meeting, what time? And I said, no, time doesn't matter. It was relevant. Of course it matters into everything we do. So why don't we do it with the tool that we use to drive our business.
Yeah, it seems so obvious, right? When you
I know.
say it like that, it's like obvious.
I know.
Why hasn't it been done? But
Yeah.
I think that's good. Changing it now. Now, email for you still the most important kind of tool to coordinate all the different, business, personal parts of your life.
Yeah, I think. Well, one of the more important tools. I got a bunch of buddies. They're real tools, but I would say email is probably the most important tool to my business for sure.
Yeah. No, I think it's the same, right? There's more options than ever. Texting, chatting, WhatsApping,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And the stories I continue to hear as I talk to people and kind of do my research, because I feel like we need to fix this problem now, because
Sure.
the madness is getting worse, and
Yeah.
if we can help fix it, let's fix it. And you see the stories, good old Elon Musk, right? He built Tesla, he built SpaceX using email. That's the tool. That's the only way you can be a busy person who's traveling, who's, I'm sure you're in meetings, you're well scheduled, I'm sure, from morning till night.
Yeah.
And that means when you have the time to take action, it's always going to be when it's convenient for you. And email is that tool that can bridge companies' time and still push the ball forward every day.
Especially for somebody like me, I again, I kind of like basically run a small business, and it's a lot of different things, and so there is the constant potential for things to fall between the cracks. That's the number one thing, because I'm doing something for this, I'm doing something for that, and so the scheduling is super important. I don't go and punch the clock every day, and I'm not sitting at a desk. Like I'm on the move, and those things need to be organized in a certain way. And if it falls apart, I get in, I get in trouble.
Exactly.
The other thing I was thinking about as well is one of the pitfalls of not being of the current email situation that we're in the world is you're always worried that you're also going to kind of insult somebody, based on what you were saying before. When email first started, it was never expected that you were just going to respond immediately. It was like kind of like when you get a chance. It was almost like letter writing in a way. You sent somebody a letter, and 3 weeks later you got a response. You're like, still simmering down here in Gloucester. The weather is beautiful. Now there's that expectation. Built into that is not just with your boss necessarily, but people that you're working with. What is the appropriate amount of time? You have to kind of make that judgment call before you think that they're going to be insulted if you haven't answered them. So, I'll be working with somebody new potentially too that I don't know that well, and we're going to get together to talk about something. They send me an email, say, hey, we should do this. Well, in my mind, I'm like, if I haven't answered them within 24 hours, have I insulted them? Am I going to lose this business?
That's really interesting.
And so you're also doing that kind of tally in your mind of like ranking, and people respond. I think people might get offended, might think, well, he didn't answer me, so obviously he doesn't care, when that's not necessarily the case.
This is one of the reasons why I think education around the topic is so important, and it's lacking, right? Everybody builds technology I don't want to say for the sake of building technology, but it's like, hey, I can do this, so it's permission to do it.
Yeah.
And then as consumers, as users, we start using these things. And I think there's that saying, right? It's like every new innovation creates 50 new problems.
Sure.
And that's kind of what we're suffering from here, and everybody's in a race to create more tools all the time. Because they want market share, they want money, they want all those things. And we've hit this point now where people need to stop, and we actually need to think about how to use all these tools we have properly. And some of it's etiquette. I think it's to your point. I mean, I wrote I think 7 years ago now, one of the first books on smartphone addiction, digital communication overload. And we interviewed tons of people. And at that point, it was still kind of like, ha ha ha, I left my BlackBerry on an airplane and I couldn't leave without it, so they held the flight and let me get it.
Yeah.
And now we're over that, and we've become slaves to our devices, and we're all going to start to look like this if we don't start to put the phones away at least a little bit, and maybe send less messages, but send better messages. And I think, to your point, good emails don't get written as much because we're so tied into just quick send, quick send. And something magical happens when you're forced to actually write 4 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. You actually have to collect your thoughts, think about what you're trying to convey.
And that comes with time, right?
Comes
Like
with time,
if somebody sends you an email and says, "Hey, listen, it's Monday. I don't need to hear from you till Wednesday, Kevin."
You get a better email back.
By Wednesday, when you know that you got to send the email, you've also had a couple days to let it marinate, shall we say? As gross as that sounds.
I don't think it's gross at all. Percolate.
Fester. Look, one of the I was talking with these guys the other day about the idea that in Europe, some governments are starting to mandate that you cannot expect your employees to work after work hours because we all bring it home with us, right? Our jobs, the intent after the Second World War, when everybody went to work and started this new, wasn't that we were all going to work 24 hours a day. Well, that's what's happening. And if you don't answer your boss after 6 p.m., then you're going to be out because there's a guy who will do it, right? Well, I got 2 kids, and so 6 o'clock is dinner time, and then it's bedtime and whatever, and I don't have time to do that. And I think that, and the weekend is the same thing. Once people can understand how to use this tool in that way, then we kind of can start to work around that. And you as a boss could say to me as your employee, "Hey, we got to fix this thing tomorrow, Thursday. Today's Wednesday. Email me by tomorrow at 11 a.m. You don't need to email me tonight at 6 or 7 p.m. because I know you're putting your kids down." That's the kind of message that you're sending. As an employer, I think it becomes, I respect your time as my employee as well. And I think that builds a kind of a confidence and helps that relationship. And now everybody's for real on the same page as opposed to just paying kind of lip service to it.
You're totally right. Just quit. We're being selfish, right? Quit being selfish. Stop for a second.
Yeah.
Just think about what you're doing when you hit that send button.
I think that Timyo has the potential to be like the new Gandhi of technology. If that's okay for me to say.
I think it's fine. I think everybody would love that.
Just really bringing the people together and creating this kind of unity.
Some mindfulness around communication again.
Yeah. But it does go back to the one thing that it keeps, I think that we're both kind of saying is that time is important.
No, so I saw a video from Timyo starring Will Arnett.
Yes.
What's
I
the
don't know
story?
who cast him, but it was a great idea. He's a national treasure for 2 nations.
Canada claims him.
Yeah. We made a video with Timyo with the idea being that what would happen if we had zero respect for time. Well, of course, our lives would fall apart. If we worked in an office where time was of no essence, then first of all, it wouldn't be very long before we were all kind of huddled under bridges around fires and the world was burning. It's a key component. And so if it's a key component to our very existence, then it must be a key component to what we do in that existence, in our business. And if we ignore that, then we are ignoring a major problem that we've got. And so we kind of wanted to highlight that in a funny way. What would happen if we had a disregard for time and chaos ensues? I always love the idea of, I always had this image, the first time I thought about the idea of Timyo and the idea of time and disregarding it, I thought about a guy showing up, he calls his buddy, he says, I'm flying in today, meet me at the airport. That's it. Well, he'd be standing there, and he's standing there, it's 4th of July, it's hot out, and then we cut to, it's Thanksgiving, and then we cut to, it's Christmas, and it's snowing, and he's still standing there, because he never told the guy when. Well, it's absurd, you wouldn't do it. So why would you do it in your email, in your business life? The very thing that drives your business. It's dumb.
So obvious, right? When you actually stop and think about it and talk about it.
Yeah.
So obvious.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. It's 2017.
So I started, once I started using the app, I started using, sending emails to my friends too, because I still use email for obviously in my personal life as well. And they started seeing the header from Timyo. And they're like, "What's this?" Because the thing that really got them was in the line and in the email, in the header, it says, "I value your time," and that actually says it overtly, but it sends a message, that says, just that.
Will cares.
I care.
Will cares. Making the world a better place.
The more you know. But it's true, and so once everybody's kind of on board and starts using this, once you've adopted this technology, once you've said, yeah, Timyo is the way that I'm going to communicate, not only are you saying I value my own time, but I value your time. Yeah. And that's important.
I love it. I think it's totally true. I think the clarity around expectations is really key too. One of my partners, he sends a lot of emails. He sends a lot.
Yeah.
And
he sounds lonely. Sorry.
No. He's busy, but he reads a lot, so he sends a lot. He learns something. He forwards an email. Read this article, but he never tells you if he wants a reply or not. And this is what floored me. This is my aha moment where we need to fix this, because he is a very educated, smart guy, on top of things, and he sends an article, and I read it, but he didn't say like, let's talk about this later, let's do anything. And 4 days later, you see him, right? Or we catch up. We're busy. He's traveling. I'm traveling, and we're doing our weekly catch-up call for a half hour. And he's like, "You never got back to me on that email about that thing." And to me, this was one of 300 emails I received that day. I read it. I'm like, okay, I got it. It's in my head. But there was no expectation communicated to me that he wanted to. And in the meantime, 3 days later, he's offended that I didn't follow up with him. And it's his fault. He could have wrote the sentence or done something to say, let's talk about this later. I want to know your opinions. Didn't do it. Sent a poor email. And what I love about Timyo is you can solve that problem really easily. It's like, I expect a reply. I don't, FYI, just read this. Maybe I'm sending an email to 5 people on my team, and the 2 who need to do something are in the to field. The 3 others are in the CC field. It's FYI, nothing's required, but everybody's in the loop.
Yeah.
And I think as a manager, but also just to other people, to stop wasting that time with the quick thanks at the end. It's like, just read this. You don't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
We reduce the weight of communication. That's
the same thing. When I was telling you that when I first started using Timyo, it was actually through my friends who I was more likely to hear feedback from. Initially when I sent them an email that said, whatever, and reply by Tuesday, they're like, what? Not only were they surprised with the I value your time, they're also like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't have to. In a way, you've taken a burden off them. It's like a big weight. My buddy Jason Bateman, who I work with on Arrested and a bunch of stuff, and we used to have a little company together. He's a immediate email responder. I remember he and I got in an argument once, and we were both on an email chain. We had this company, this sort of digital media kind of company, and he was making me look bad because
he bought into the myth that you have to reply quick.
He was answering instantly, and I said to him, I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "If I get an email, I answer right away." And I go, "Okay, well, I can't necessarily answer right away," and it created not just it created this kind of weird dynamic with he and I were partners, and with this person we were doing business with.
Right.
I looked like I was lazy or smoking weed or something, just because I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
And he looked like he was, very German about everything,
Interesting. That sets a precedent, I guess, when you do it, right? In that case, not a good one.
Yeah, but if the guy had sent us an email and said, hey, "You guys don't need to let me know till next week," then it's an even playing field.
And your reply would be much better than the one he sent in 10 seconds.
Well,
I think that's the thing I would like to...
My reply would always be better than his, but...
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that is the thing I would like to solve in the world is, you walk down the streets and you see people who are walking, stop dead in their tracks, and now they're sitting there for 45 seconds or it looks ridiculous. It's one of those things. If aliens came down or are looking from above at this planet right now, you're just going to see a bunch of, back of the head and crooked necks. So how are we going to celebrate when we cure the world of its abuse of communication?
I don't know. I feel like I feel the world is going to be celebrating, and guys like you and me are going to be on their shoulders, right?
Okay.
I didn't invent it, by the way. That should be noted. I'm just a consumer, but
champions for products, though. That's important.
That's true.
That's important.
I did see the movie about Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's, according to him, and he did not found it, but he called himself the founder. So that's kind of. Let me go on record saying I invented Timyo. It was just an idea I had one day on the bus. But no, I think that it's interesting. I remember 2 years ago, I went to Europe on this tour for Netflix, and they were just introducing it in Spain and Italy, and I did all these interviews, and the reporters were saying, well, why do we need Netflix? How is Netflix going to be better? And we all know streaming has changed the way that people watch entertainment. And I said, I'm not going to explain it to you, but just remember this conversation in about a week when you've had this service for 4 days, and also remember in a year how much different that your experience is. And I think that that's going to be the difference with something like Timyo. It's a game changer like streaming. It's going to be, you know, if you use email on a regular basis and it drives your business, you're going to remember the moment sort of a year later.
Yeah.
How did I ever do without it?
And then you can send an email that says, "I told you so, no reply expected."
That would be so boss. Hey,
Well, that was awesome.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for the time. That was a great chat.
it was great to meet you.